as a coach, when you're watching kids make mistakes, you just can't do everything.
From like the player perspective, like, so I gave you guys a few things to think about on your end, like that you can see or you can judge or you can ask yourself the question about. But then another way of thinking about is how does it manifest in the actual player? Like how can you tell maybe you're overcoaching an individual? So same thing. I'm just going to read them out, and you can kind of ask or talk about it after I'm done. So some of like the negative consequences now of coaching. So it's like what you'll see in a kid could be like burnout. Could be a kid is like stressed out or really anxious being at practice, or their parents tell you that they are. Um, Getting hurt, that kind of goes more with the overtraining thing if you're doing that too much. Kids that don't want to be creative, like they feel like they have to be in the lines all the time. Decline in motivation, like maybe kids express they don't want to play anymore. I've had kids that are in some of these classes I train that have said that before. They just think negatively about themselves, like the I can't do anything right, a little bit of the pity party, what was me kind of stuff. Um, Strained relationships, that's a good one where it's like between you and the player, between you and the parents, those kinds of things. Um, Early specialization, which is always a tricky thing that is kind of a hot topic, but you're forcing kids to be a certain thing early and you're not giving them that leeway to have some autonomy. Kids that are not enjoying what they're doing, stunted development, um, their skills end up being limited, and then maybe even like a impact long term of the impact you've had, because everybody can tell the story of like the shitty coach that was like, I can't. Well, you gave a few examples in a few episodes of like you asked a player about this guy they had as a coach, and they're like, I don't even want to talk about it. Like I don't even want, and that's the effect that you can have. And it doesn't have to be that you were, a criminal coach. It could just be that you did these things. Like you were just over coaching. You're just in their face too much. You're not adequately getting them to respond or working the individual player the way they need it. Right. So those are kinds of some things that you can look for. So same thing. You can say any thoughts on that, or kind of talking about maybe the importance of letting the kids have some autonomy within the structure of coaching.
You have to, right? Like, so the one thing I wanted to say though was because you were talking about the negatives, and I never want to come across like um, coaches have to do it one way and poor players, because that's kind of like the society we live in now. If you're ever hard on someone, or if you ever
For sure.
right,
Yeah,
so
for
I
sure.
want to make sure this is very clear that a lot of people, I've seen this so many times from coming from parents and players, that when a coach teaches them, and you've had this experience with some of our players, is that when you teach them something, it's called coaching. It's actually called coaching. So every time you do something as a player, it's not necessarily like, wow, you're the best player ever, or you don't praise them. Like, you're supposed to do certain things, and if, like, for example, if you're a goal scorer and you got 3 goals that game, the coach doesn't have to come up to you and say, you did a great job today, you got 3 goals today, that's awesome, you're the best, blah 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 blah. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. So a lot of times, I mean, you could always praise, nothing wrong with it, but a lot of times that would be overcoaching if you're over positive and it's always like, that was good, that was good, that was good. It's like, okay, I'm tuning you out again, right? But what players and parents have to understand is, because someone may appear negative or they're pointing out your flaws, that doesn't mean that they're negative. That just could simply mean that they're coaching you, right? You're like, I need you to hang back a little bit. Every time you move the puck, you're like the fourth forward at the net. Like, I don't want you to do that. Coach doesn't want me to skate up the ice, Dad. Dad goes, why don't you let him skate up the ice? He's always so negative. It's like, no, I'm trying to make you a better player, or this is our system. So don't confuse negative or positive with, like, that's proper coaching. Like, you got to understand that coaching is coaching.
Dude, okay, so yes, like this is, you have like just in general, because a lot of times I just talk like assuming there's a few things we can take for granted. I'm going to assume that you're going to have a brain about what I'm saying, right? So if I say that, yeah, a kid is really stressed and anxious around you, it's like it could just be the kid. Like it could be their environment at home. I'm not saying that this is because of you, you're doing this. It's just like these are the questions to ask, and you can weigh the factors, obviously, right? So it's important to know, like, and this is for parents too that are maybe sympathizing with my negatives that I just listed. It's like coaching is a form of criticism or judgment. Like the coach's job is to judge your kid's performance or criticize their performance, right? You can interpret that as negative if you wish, but that is the job. So me giving you something to work on is a form of criticism, or me saying you're not doing this well is my judgment of you. Like that is the job. So exactly to your point, it's like this is in no way saying that as the coach you have to cater to every little thing that the player wants or every little. That's how the so to your point, the society is today, where it's like you cater to the kids for everything. Apparently, it's like no one in the right mind thinks that that's a good idea. You know, so as a coach, it's no different. It's like these are just some things you can think about that maybe is an indicator that you're doing a poor job in a certain area or with a certain individual, but that doesn't mean for sure that because of your coaching style you're causing this kid to have burnout. That doesn't mean that at all, obviously, right? You're only with them a few hours a week at most, probably, right? So that's a good clarification.
Yeah, and so and then like from the players, it's just understand you're getting coached, and like sometimes as a coach, it's just like it's not. I would assume it's not rocket science, but it's like it's okay to kick the garbage again once in a while because you're so like especially if it's an effort thing or like you actually get passionate about the kids not performing or not becoming everything they can. Like every now and then it's good. Every day is not because we got to understand like the NHL people make mistakes. Do you believe that in the NHL? No, no. I mean, I'm not even trying to be funny, man. In the NHL, guys gets paid 8, 10, 4 million, whatever it is, and he the coach rips him for not tracking, like back checking hard, or being lazy in his offensive zone, or not following a route, or having a turnover. It's because there's a lot of mistakes in the game, right? So mistakes happen, and you and at that point, I mean, you just don't play. But when you're a kid, it's like you're going to make mistakes. That's the thing. So as a coach, when you're watching kids make mistakes, you just can't do everything. You gotta. That's why I always come. For me, it works for me. Is always in themes, right? Pick your battles. What are the themes that you're looking for, right? I want all three zones a certain way with effort, and there's going to be mistakes, and you can't just not every little thing can be a problem.